we look back at this time, I think we will realize that we were standing in the foothills of the singularity. Welcome to Primary Technology, the show about the tech news that matters. WWDC media invites went out, plus they announced some iOS 27 accessibility features from Apple Vision Pro to some more Apple Intelligence. We're going to get into that, plus Google I.O. is this week with a keynote. All the AI things. Google has a ton of products. We're going to break it all down in the show. Plex pricing changes. Gen Z still hates AI and is booing it at commencements. Elon lost his case, and a ton more. This episode is brought to you by Shopify, Copilot Money, NordLayer, and you. Members who support us directly. I'm one of your hosts, Stephen Robles, and joined, as always, by Jason Aten. How's it going, Jason?
It's pretty good. It's pretty good, Stephen.
It's pretty good. Pretty good. How's your app doing? How's your app in the...
It's doing really well, Stephen. In fact, before we get started, I would like to give a shout out to you.
Oh.
You left me one of my first reviews. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Reading reviews about your app that you have made is a very surreal thing. Thankfully, it's like a 4.8 star app right now. So
that's
it's
good.
technically doing about as good as our podcast, which is great. A lot fewer reviews, but it's interesting how people use reviews to give you feedback suggestions.
Well, there's that, and we talked in the pre-show, which if you want to listen to the pre-show and get an ad-free version, you have the link down in the show notes. You can listen to it all. But someone left a review on my Movies on the Side podcast saying it's a fake show because we only have 50 reviews after 8 years. And I'm like, that's not my fault.
Right.
Anyway.
But I just think it was interesting. Like, there are also people who will leave you a review that are like, this seems like an interesting app. I would use it if blah, 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 blah. And it's like, that's not a review.
Thanks for your service, I guess.
Yeah, you just said you didn't actually use it. What are you doing? So,
I know. That's the thing.
It's been great. It's been super surprising. Awesome. Lots of people have downloaded it, and I really appreciate that. So
that's very cool. Very cool. All right, we got a ton of stuff. Google I.O. is going to be a translation interpretation, a huge segment here because we got to try and talk about all the things they announced. The movie quote. Today's quote was actually not a movie quote. You know what I quoted.
Yeah, I mean, that was Demis Hassabis at the very end talking about something singularity, and I was like thinking, it definitely sounds like something the mad scientist says at the end of like a movie, right? Like Dr. Frankenstein. By the way, when you think of Frankenstein, do you think of the doctor or do you think of the creature?
You think of the creature.
But that's not.
That's
Frankenstein
not
is the name of the doctor.
That's correct.
It's crazy.
Correct.
It's just this weird thing. Anyway, go on. Move on.
Anyway, we're going to get into that. But yes, that was a full-on quote from Google I.O., which just blew my mind. They also had a couple other quotes we're going to be talking about. Bold claims. We'll say bold claims from Google. Last week, I forgot to ask about the movie quote. I said they made us too smart, too quick, and too many. It is a movie I've quoted before.
And I did not know it, but I do know it now because I had actually looked it up after the fact when you didn't ask me. So it's from AI, which I don't think is a movie. I don't think I saw that movie.
It's Haley Joel Osment, Jude Law. Yeah, AI, literally. Not the future, I think. Well, maybe we're headed towards that future. Who knows? But anyway, I have some exciting news about pins. Got to talk about. We have a couple 5-star review shout-outs. O'Shaughnessy from the USA. iPhone non-dominant left-hand front pocket so he can write with his right.
Thank you.
There you go. Your method. This is a great show. Thank you for that. Gunt Cramps from the USA. His review said, I seen a bus once. I don't know what that means, but he left us 5 stars, so thanks for that. And Jeremy Miz from Mexico, and he did correct me. Listen, I have my other show now, Top 5 Tech, which I do every Friday, and I highlighted a video from Cleo Abram, and for some reason, my brain kept saying Chloe. And I literally had to do like 5 takes when I recorded that 5-minute show last week because I kept saying Chloe. I'm sorry. It's not Chloe. It is Cleo Abram.
Yeah. It's also not GIF. It's GIF, but move on.
Okay. Right there. So friend of the show, Glenn texted me and he said, what does GIF stand for? Do you know?
Yeah, it's the graphics image format.
And how do you say the G in graphics?
I know where you're going. But the canonical evidence here is that the person who created the format says it's GIF.
Yeah, no. Listen, when you create,
how do you say the word? How do you say the animal with a really tall neck?
We did this. I literally said that last week. So, like giraffe. How do you say the word of the present that you give someone at Christmas? What is that?
A gift.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Okay. A couple app shout outs. We have some wonderful listeners of the show that have some apps, and we like to shout them out here at the top of the show. So real quick, this first one is a mood tracker. This is from Marvin. Sent me an email. It's called InnerPulse. One-time purchase. My wife actually uses apps like this to kind of like track different moods and stuff, and there's lots of apps for this, but it looks great. Really nicely designed. Nice little graphs and stuff. So check out Mood Tracker. We'll link that down in the show notes. And then Hashan sent me this Symphony for Apple Music. This is like a companion. So if you have Apple Music, you can connect it to this app. You can browse your library in different ways. You can like get CoverFlow back, if you remember CoverFlow back in like iPod Touch era. Last.fm integration, so that's a pretty cool app. Check that out. And also Smart Budget, which is a wallet app that also has some shortcuts actions that I'm going to be playing around with pretty soon. And so, yeah, if you're always looking for a budgeting app, Smart Budget apps in the links in the show notes. Those are fun. And I, yesterday, continued my boondoggle of sending pins around the world, Jason. I have a whole look at all these pins I got here. Look at these pins. I got all these pins. The Medieval Knight riding the polar bear. And so I asked last week, we have a new quest. Get the Medieval Knight riding the polar bear to every continent. Well, I'm pleased to announce we have 5 out of 7 continents fully secured. We have people, this is not one of the 7, but we have Australia. Hans and I sent to Australia. Ian from Australia, those are going. We have Central America, Jorge from Panama. We have several, and yes, you do need to say it like that. Jason asked me before, so you do. And I'm sending some to China. We have a listener visiting Japan next month, and so send them a pin, and they're going to be taking pictures of it around Japan. And we had two listeners in South Africa that emailed me the day the episode dropped last week. Chepo from South Africa and Andre from South Africa. And, pins are heading that way, too. And so we now just have 2 more continents to go. South America and, of course, Antarctica. And so if you're in South America and you listen to the show, email me. It's right in the show notes. And let me know where you are. I'll get one to you. And then if you have, like, a grandma going to Antarctica on a cruise or something, or if you know of someone, doing the Drake Passage and is going to be heading down there, or you know a scientist, family or friend that works down there or something, I want the polar bear. I mean, in Antarctica, it would be perfect, although there's no polar bears there because nothing lives there. But you know what I mean? Like in Antarctica, I feel like that would be perfect. So I'm excited. Let's do it. We have listeners all over the world, Jason. My
sons and I had a really interesting conversation. It wasn't that interesting, but yesterday about Antarctica because they were wanting to know, like, is it a country? I said, well, it's a continent. And they're like, well, but is it also a country? I said, well, they don't have a government. And they said, well, like, who's in charge? I'm like, that's a really good question. And I don't know who it is, but I don't think anyone lives there, so it doesn't actually matter.
Well, and
we all just agree not to fight over it. Right? The scientists are there. We've all agreed. We're going to leave the penguins alone because, honestly, my boys think the penguins would win if you tried to take over because they are used to the cold and we are not.
I thought you were going to say because they've seen the Penguins movie with the Madagascar.
No, they just think the penguins are much more well-equipped to survive whatever might happen.
That is true. Listen, I'm always fascinated by Antarctica. The Chloe Abram video I linked in Top 5 Tech last week. See, I did it again. Cleo Abram. Her video is amazing because they've actually studied the lakes under the ice in Antarctica. And I don't want to spoil it, but her video is incredible. It's basically like National Geographic level documentary. And so you should check that out. But I've also listened to the Omnibus podcast where they talk about the like huge machine bulldozer type treaded vehicle that they tried to bring to Antarctica like in the 60s or whatever. And it was a whole boondoggle as well. I'm always fascinated by it. So let us know if you or someone you know is going to Antarctica. I will send you like 10 pins just to like, well, don't leave it there.
Hand them out to the penguins.
That's it. Don't make sure they don't stab themselves. But yeah, hand them out to the penguins. We'd love to do that. All right. Media invites for DubDub has gone out. And, we already knew the dates of DubDub, but this is when Apple actually makes official. The keynote is going to be on Monday, June 8th. With the platform State of the Union after that. And the media invites went out. I'm happy to report that I got an invite and also sad to report Jason did not. I'm sorry, Jason.
Yeah, somebody asked if I was going to go as a journalist or an app developer, and I'm, at this point, just not going to go. Well, because the app developer, you had to have applied a long time ago.
You did. The app developer, and that's a lottery. You're not guaranteed, even if you're a developer. I know lots of people. So, unfortunately, it will just be one of us again at DubDub. I'm still holding out hope. I'll cross my fingers next year. One day we need to record in person in their podcast suite.
I did email them and I was like, "Do you know who I am?" And they're like,
you know?
They're like,
Google
no.
me.
They're like, "No, I don't have a clue who you are. Leave us alone."
Google me. So I will be there in person. I did get an invite, and I'll be recording from the podcast studio, and Jason will be remote again, so I'll be reporting all week. The tagline for DubDub is "Coming Bright Up." And everyone is trying to read the tea leaves that this little animation in the Swift logo is maybe that's the new Siri animation. We'll see. We're all going to know in like 2 weeks, and it'll all be. I also think it's interesting. We talk about this a little bit in the next Mac Power Users, but Apple just, they're just using AI. And, for a long time, Apple tried really, really hard to make machine learning the term, that everything was machine learning, and all this stuff that Siri did was machine learning. And then they were like, screw it. Everything's AI.
Well, but for them, AI means Apple Intelligence.
Well, yeah, but like they just use the acronym, the 2 letters AI now, and I think they just let people interpret it how they want. You know what I mean?
Sure, but I bet you that if you ask them, it means Apple Intelligence.
You know what I'm going to ask them when I'm there, Jason? I'm going to say, hey, what does AI mean in this newsroom article? What does it stand for?
They're going to be like, what are you talking about?
I'm just curious. Now, iOS 27, actually, there's some official features for accessibility that have come out or announced, and we want to get into that because there are some clues there, I think, to what we'll see at WW. But we have to talk about Google I/O. Google I/O is the huge event. As we record, it happened yesterday, and Google announced 1,000 things. 1,000 things. Many of them do things like the other things, and there's just a lot of things. And so the quote from the top of the episode is literally from the keynote. It closed the keynote, and they said, when we look back at this time, I think we will realize that we were standing in the foothills of the singularity. That statement is wild. I don't know, like, the singularity in like astrophysics terms is like what's in the middle of a black hole and maybe the beginning of the universe. I don't know it, but Google is using it to refer to AGI, I believe, artificial general intelligence.
Yeah,
and they said that too.
Yeah,
AGI.
They're the only ones that are still saying it,
which I thought was interesting. What's the presenter's name at the end?
Demis Hassabis?
Yes. He was the one that said, like, AGI is coming. And so I think it's interesting that OpenAI and Microsoft, they've now, like, let that go by the wayside, and they're not really talking about AGI, and it's not even part of their agreement anymore. And Google's over here like, nah, it's here, bro. We're at the foothills of the singularity. That does, it does sound like if you say that more with kind of like a maybe I'm high-esque, like a Dumb and Dumber. We're at the foothills of the singularity, bro. I think that fits better. They should have done it like that.
Foothills of the Singularity is definitely a Pink Floyd album, right? Like,
ooh, that's pretty good. That is a good album name, or maybe it's a band name. There was that quote, and there was also this quote. Our mission. This is quoting from the Google keynote, Demis Hassabis, is to reimagine the drug discovery process with the goal of one day solving all disease. Google literally saying they are going to solve all disease with AGI. We're back to big promises, Jason. This is like big.
I said this to you beforehand, and the thing is, looking at this entire list of all of the things that got announced, most of which are slightly different versions of the same things that got announced, and also last year, same things, right? Like they just keep, and Google is notorious for renaming things that they've already announced, and so then you don't realize that, oh, wait, is this a new thing, or is this just a new name for this other thing, or is it the other thing and it's a slightly new version of it, so they decided to change the name? Remember when Gemini used to be called Bard? Like, it's all very confusing. Oh, yeah. But looking through this entire list, it is like, the thought that kept occurring to me is, well, if anyone could pull off all of this stuff, it's definitely Google. For one, they have all of the technology. Yeah. They have Demis Hassabis, who is like the godfather of AI, right? I think we're gonna talk about it later, but when you look through the conversations that were happening that were revealed during the Musk versus Altman trial, you realize that almost all of the early conversations were about people terrified of Demis Hassabis because he was the guy. Everyone knew. And they just figured he was going to rule it all. And now he got on stage today and said, I'm ruling it all. This is my kingdom. You are all just my pawns. But Google is like the company you're like, definitely could pull this off. And also Google is a company that you're like, they might forget about all of this tomorrow.
There is literally a website called Killed by Google.
Yeah.
With a graveyard of all the things Google said. And a lot of the stuff Google announced is like coming this summer. And so it's like, okay, okay, we'll see. So let's get into it. I mean, to be honest, we're having a little fun here because it just feels like Google is a little high on their own supply. Maybe you could say it does feel like there's a bit of, that.
Yeah.
But they announced some interesting things, and because Google, like you're saying, has all the things like Google Docs to search to everything, they can do some fun stuff. So like Google Docs Live is a feature that Sundar Pichai showed up. And he's basically like, listen, you can talk at your phone, and because Google has your email and it has all your search and everything and personal intelligence, they have this example where someone's like, hey, I'm giving a talk at my high school or whatever, so pull my resume from Google Docs, pull the email from the school from Gmail, and I want to talk about this and that and this. Remind me to tell the story about how I got into that and bold that. And it'll just like create this Google Doc with the whole outline and the tables, and cool. Like, I mean, that is nice. And that's something where maybe Claude Cowork could do that today. Like if you gave it access to a document or a folder on your Mac and it had context for whatever. But I think the promise that Google is espousing is like, well, if you just, like, Google already knows it all. So you can just talk to Google Docs and it'll make this doc for you. The quality of the doc and the content always remains to be seen. That's kind of like the litmus test. Is like, would I use this out of the box? How much editing does it take? But it's cool that it does it.
It's also interesting that we're now at a phase where Google has stopped trying to pretend like your data is yours and it's sacred and secret. And they're literally just saying what we all knew was true, which is, listen, we already know everything about you. We have access to all of your information, all of your data, and all of your files. So why don't you just let us do something useful with it?
Yeah, and I mean, if it is useful and you would use it all the time, if you're having to make presentations or docs about stuff constantly, like, yeah, sure. They also announced Google Omni, and they have like 13 different like generative tools. Like there's Google Flow, there's Google Pics we're going to get into, Google Omni. And it did feel like we're going to talk a little bit about does Gen Z hate AI? Because we had a great email from a listener who's Gen Z who graduated a couple of years ago. But it did feel like such a juxtaposition between how people are booing AI, an ex-Google CEO at a commencement talking about AI, and Google in this keynote was like, you can generate anything from anything. Like that's literally what they said. Like you can generate anything. You can give Google Omni a photo, a video, a prompt, and it can make whatever you want. It can make videos, images, audio, music. And so they're just full on being like, hey, generate everything. And even putting these tools into things like YouTube so creators can make shorts, just have AI do it. And it's like, okay, I guess.
I mean, the idea would be you could take a video of this keynote or of a person just standing up and giving a talk. You could video yourself giving a speech, and then you could feed it into Omni and be like, make me the keynote to go with this.
Right.
Like, really?
And they showed like lots of manipulation type things of like a guy walking along a wall, and then they made it look like a sci-fi thing, and then made it look like change the scene. And like, I guess they're going after filmmakers or maybe like independent video type businesses who don't have the budget to do that with visual effects and like the expensive way. And so maybe you could just have AI do it. And if it's good enough, okay, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know either, but I don't know if they know. I don't know if they know either. I don't know that they know who they're going after. I think it's like technology, cool.
Yeah.
Anybody is it David Pierce who's like, is this a thing?
Is this a
Put
thing?
it all out there.
But I also think there are a lot of people generating stuff with it. I mean, I see so much stuff on social media now where it's like, this is AI. This is AI. You know, it's just like reel after reel. And things that I even have to, like, I get my in-laws and other people like send me stuff and they ask me like, is this real? Is this real? And I'm like, no, it's not real. Which to that point, there was a large portion of the Google I/O keynote where they talked about C2PA tagging. And they basically said everything generated with AI from Google's tools will be tagged. And so there's going to be C2PA. And you can even see the data that it was captured with X. So if you took a video from your Google Pixel phone, it'll say this video was taken on Google Pixel and then edited with Google Omni, or it was manipulated with this. And so they're also rolling that out to Google Search and Chrome at large. And they even got partners. OpenAI have agreed to play nice. Kakao and 11 Labs to say this was generated. Like they're all going to tag and label their stuff, which I think is good. Like that's a positive move. More of these players are going to make it clear when their stuff is tagged. And you'll be able to, I thought this was cool, ask Chrome, is this AI? So if you see a post, you're browsing the web in Chrome, or you come across an image or video, you can literally right-click and just say, is this AI? And it will tell you this was generated either by Google or by OpenAI. And whether that metadata carries through the pipeline. If someone generates something with Google Omni, brings it into Premiere, exports it from a media encoder, and then I don't know if you can strip that data. I don't know the technical side well enough. Hopefully it stays through that whole process. But I do think that was a positive move.
I mean, all you literally have to do is screen record a video. Like make a video of a video or screenshot a photo. Like this is nothing.
It's a good point.
This is literally nothing. Also, the only place where this matters, I shouldn't say it's literally nothing. It is slightly more than nothing.
Okay.
But it is not a meaningful thing at this point. This is mostly the AI companies trying to what is the phrase, like greenwashing, right? This is essentially greenwashing AI, where it's like yes, we pollute things, but also we buy credits for carbon, whatever. Or like, so what this is essentially doing is we've created a standard so that we'll be able to identify fake content, so that the tools we're making so that everyone can make fake content are fine. Or you could maybe just not make those tools that are going to cause a huge problem down the road. Because here's the scenario. The only scenario where this matters is Meta on board. Because what needs to happen is every time you upload a video that is tagged in this way, a giant red key line needs to appear around the video, and a watermark needs to say, not real, because you just described the conversations you have with people wanting to know, is this real? Right. And they're not going to right click in Chrome to find out who was taken on a pixel and whatever. That's the only scenario where this matters, is will Meta adopt this, and will Meta make it very clear? And I promise you they won't. Because the single most useful thing to Meta right now is millions and millions of people generating endless amounts of fake content to put on there that'll keep people engaged.
That is true. I was happy to read from our listeners that they also think Instance is stupid. The Meta feature.
Absolutely moronic.
It's so dumb. I guess that is a point. Like whether the AI disclosure is proactive versus upon request, I think does make a big difference. Because if someone is scrolling Reels, they're not going to like tap and hold and say, is this AI? And then wait for it to think about it and then look at it. Like that's not going to happen. Now, and TikTok, I think, is the only platform that has this. There is like a slider in the TikTok settings for like how much AI content you want. And you can literally turn that slider down. It doesn't reveal what's AI. It's just saying you can have less of it. You can't have none. You can't move that slider all the way to 0, but you can, choose the amount of AI. If this tagging can then lead into that, but it is a setting you have to manage anyway. We'll see. We're still a long way away from whether tagging and all of this has a meaningful effect. I did look up greenwashing, by the way. Quoting from Google AI Overview, greenwashing is the deceptive marketing practice of presenting a company, product, or service as more environmentally friendly or sustainable than it truly is.
Yeah.
Which is watching.
I think that fits pretty well.
That's
right?
It.
This is AI slop washing, basically.
There it is. AI slop washing. Yeah. Okay, so they also announced Google Gemini 3.5 Flash, which is better than everything. It's better than the current Pro versions. That's available, I think, in the Gemini app and web, and it'll be rolling out to more people soon, even on the free tier. So that's Flash. Antigravity 2.0, which is so many names, but Google Antigravity is like the developer platform. And so they're going to have a nicer desktop app. Agent first. That was one thing I got from this keynote is like agent, just that like everything agent. It's all agents. Like Google said there's going to be agents in search. There's agents in Antigravity. Gemini Spark is literally a personal AI agent, which we're going to get to. But like everything's an agent. And so Antigravity also agent first. I guess what that means is I don't know what that means, but I guess it means like you just talk to the agent and then he does things.
Well,
they do things. Excuse me.
There you go. Well, yeah, and I guess to try to just parse this out for people, right? Gemini, we all know what the models are. Gemini, the Gemini 3.5 Flash is supposed to be faster than Gemini 3.1 Pro or whatever, and it's way more efficient. They made the comment about like saving you billions of dollars, and I'm like, that you're not going to save me billions of dollars because I don't have billions of dollars to save, right?
Exactly.
But okay, cool, that's great. You're trying to explain this. Antigravity is sort of the equivalent of like Codex or Claude Code-ish, sort of, right? But where it's focused on spinning up agents that will then do this stuff for you. And then Spark, which you're going to get to, is kind of like co-work-ish type thing.
Yeah.
And so it's hard because, and Antigravity is actually not new. They announced this last year. They've made it clear that this is version 2.0, so it's, more
This
agenty.
is literally, they built the Gemini Mac app using Antigravity internally. So
yes. And the idea is it's like a standalone desktop application built around orchestrating agents. And the thing about agents is, I obviously have an app in the App Store. You can download it. It's called Contextly. I'd love it if you do that. But anyway,
link below.
I wanted to make a change to something. And so I typed it into Claude Code, and it's like, great, here's what I'm going to do. Agent 1 is going to do this. Agent 2 is going to do. I'm like, who are these agents? Where are you sending in ninjas to fix part of my code?
That's right. Yes.
So most of the time we don't even think about that. Now you could also create agents like people are doing, like OpenClaw or whatever. You can set these things up to be running all the time. But for most, so agent orchestration is, I don't think, a consumer feature is what I'm trying to say.
No. It is, yeah. And that's actually what Perplexity Computer talks about doing is
Sure.
We're going to orchestrate all the models and agents, whatever. So that's, if you're a developer, I think Gemini Spark is one of the more interesting things, which it's always, it's hard to parse during the keynote, where does this live? Does this live in the Gemini app? Is this a different app? Is this on the web? And so unclear, but Gemini Spark is kind of like the Claude Cowork, like you were saying, of Google. So it is a quote-unquote personal AI agent, takes actions on your behalf, but the big difference is it runs on virtual machines 24/7, and so it's not dependent on your computer being on and active to run your task. And even Sundar Pichai said from the stage, you can close your laptop, which I've been seeing memes all over of.
That was a direct, he speaking to the people who are standing on the sidelines of the kids' soccer games with their laptops open because their agents are running.
Exactly. I've even seen accessories now where you put it in the USB port or the HDMI port of your laptop to so you can close the lid, but the laptop stays on. And it's because people want their agents doing stuff. And
there's nothing your agents are doing that is important enough that you can't just close your laptop every once in a while. Seriously, what are they doing? Yeah. Are they
They're coding, I guess.
So what? It'll just pick up when you open the thing.
I know, but it is nice to say I don't even have to think about that. It all happens in the cloud. But of course, whatever the agent is working on also has to be in the cloud. And I think that is a fundamental shift of Claude Cowork on my Mac. My Mac has to be on because it's working on things on my Mac locally. And Claude, it's communicating to the Claude servers, cloud, but it's doing stuff with the files on my computer or whatever, using some MCP server. But Google is very much taking the position of everything happens in the cloud. And so when you use Gemini Spark, it's doing stuff up there. And then you can come back to it, whatever. And I did think it was interesting they used an iPhone for the Spark demo, which was obviously everything's on purpose, but I thought that was interesting. And it's also going to be coming to Chrome. And basically they said Chrome will be an AI browser, which it had AI features already, but I think this is another shot at Perplexity Comment or ChatGPT Atlas, which I haven't heard anything about Atlas in the last 3 months, but that Chrome will have Spark and then it will just be able to do stuff for you. And then Android Halo, which is the agents will be on your phone. So Spark is Gemini agents in the cloud doing stuff up there. And then Android Halo, if you have an Android device, is going to be agents doing stuff on your phone, which is different than Gemini Task Automation, which is also Gemini doing stuff on your phone. So hopefully that's clear.
Totally clear.
Hopefully that's clear.
Also, definitely not letting agents do things on my phone.
Yeah, I mean, order Starbucks for you if it could do it well.
Okay, let's talk about this for 1 second, Stephen. No. I want to just poke at the premise here.
Yeah.
How hard is it to order Starbucks? I mean, you can do it with shortcuts.
You can do it with shortcuts.
Also, you could do it by opening the app and tapping on reorder my last thing. I don't understand. How complicated have people's lives? Hold on. How complicated have people's lives gotten? I don't believe that these are even close to the use cases. They keep talking. Everyone wants to talk about. I actually heard on the recap from The Verge, they talked about you can use it to plan an event like your wedding. I'm like, no, you won't. You will not use an agent to plan your wedding. Right?
No, you won't.
This is like self-driving cars. Some people actually like to drive cars.
Sure. So here's the scenario. And I actually did a video I'll put in the show notes where I run Gemini Task Automation on a Samsung Galaxy S26, which you could do right now with Starbucks, DoorDash, and Uber, I believe. Starbucks is the most useful I find it. But the scenario that I think it would be useful for someone like me is if we ever do a road trip, we're going to hit a Starbucks somewhere. And if I'm driving, like, yes, I can hand my phone to my wife, which
Hand your phone to your wife.
Yes, she could do it. Sometimes she might be asleep. Like, this literally happened on the way back from the beach yesterday. She's like, she was asleep. She didn't want anything from Starbucks. The kid's going to get stuff. To be able to just, like, talk to the phone and to get all the orders with the customizations right so I don't have to look at the phone and I can then just order it, that's one scenario where it's like, okay, there's some value there. Now, yes, it is slow. I would never, like, sit at home and do that. Like, it would be much faster for me to tap around on the app personally. But there might be scenarios if you're walking down the street. No, you're not going to do that walking down the street in New York City. You're just going to tap on the app. So,
yeah, I just think
driving.
I think that unless it is fast, the shortcuts thing is the only good option at this point because it's actually faster.
It is fast.
Right? It's just because you can set it up and be like, make a shortcut of my favorite order, and you just run the shortcut, and then you show up and there's a drink waiting for you. Right? That's different than, did it hear me? Is it doing it? Like, I just don't think that, I don't know. I don't feel like this is a problem that actually needs to be solved. It just makes a good demo.
It makes a good demo. I mean, if it expands, right now it's only in 3 apps. If it were to expand and be able to do other things, like if you could tell it, create a project in Asana and create these tasks, assign it to these people. Like if you could just kind of stream of consciousness, talk to your phone and it take all those actions on your behalf and it's actually accurate. So when you get to the office, you then don't have to like go through all that tedious work of creating the projects and the tasks, whatever. It's all just done. Maybe.
And it's actually accurate. That's a really important thing you just glazed right past.
But I will say, devil's advocate, whenever I did a customized Starbucks order, if it could get those right with stevia packets, upside down caramel macchiato, like it got all of that. And that's a lot of little drop downs it's got to click. I'm just saying.
I just figured it out.
Okay.
In 2007, Steve Jobs got up on a stage and he introduced the iPhone.
Yeah.
And then he prank called a Starbucks. He said, I'd like to order 4,000 lattes. Ha, just kidding. Never mind. And he hung up the phone.
That's right.
And Google's like, what if an agent pranked called Starbucks for you and ordered 4,000 lattes on your behalf? You just shout at the phone. You don't even, it's like,
not as fun.
Steve Jobs is living rent free in all of these tech executives' heads.
That's a good point. Yeah, probably. All right. Well, there's a bunch of other stuff. Last thing, and then we're going to get to like Universal Cart and more Gemini stuff. But Google talked about a seamless AI search experience. So again, like the whole theme of the keynote was just injecting AI into all the things as much as possible. And so for Google Search, they're going to do search agents. So not only can Google Search, like if you search for something, it will send agents out there and do stuff for you. And you can check for updates, which I think is a useful task. This would be like scheduled tasks in Claude or whatever. You could say, check the availability of movie tickets for Odyssey from this theater for every hour and let me know when there's some available. So it can do those kind of repeated automated tasks because it lives in the cloud. That's cool. And then they even said they're putting Antigravity in search because they want you to be able to, if you have a question about black holes, when you ask the question, Antigravity and Google Search will literally build visuals for you like in real time. And so the demo that they give is like, what happens if 2 black holes like circle each other? And there's literally an interactive visual where you can adjust the slider for separation and for mass, and it is showing you this animation of these 2 black holes around each other with an explanation. Again, I will say that's kind of cool. Like when my kids have a question about time and I'm ready to give a really long-winded answer that they don't care about, I can do this and like show a visual right away.
Just Google it, kids.
Well, let's Google it together. I'm gonna turn on screen mirroring. We'll throw it up on the Apple TV and we'll have it do that. Like that's cool. Now, most of the time, the examples like that you see from these kind of AI search stuff is like black holes for some reason. I feel like black holes is like a common trope of like, show me how a black hole works. How that goes to like, how do I make a chicken parmesan? I'm not sure what kind of real-time slider visualization it's going to use, like a breadcrumb and cheese slider. Like what happens?
Right.
What happens when I drag that cheese slider all the way to the right? I'm not sure what it does there. But cool idea, but it's just AI and everything. AI is everywhere.
It is funny that the two demos that they all want to do at Google is book you a flight and show you how a black hole works. It's like, where are you guys booking flights to? Like, what is it about
the center of the universe?
This is how a black hole works. Would you like me to book you a flight to the closest one? Like, no, I'm good. Thank you very much. I don't
I've read Icarus. I know what happens there.
It is interesting though, because this has already basically happened.
Yes.
We're all just letting it happen.
Sure.
But this is the most sure example of Google just wants you to only use one website. Just go to google.com for literally everything, and we never want to send you to anywhere else. And it's like, and we're all just allowing that to happen. And that's, I think, a net negative across the board. Like, Google, super useful.
Yeah.
Where did it get all of that useful information from?
Man.
A bunch of websites that are just not going to exist anymore.
True. I will say, though, like, I think they are fighting still the pull of the other AIs, namely ChatGPT and Claude, in the search department. Like, my daughter, she wants a bunny for her birthday. And I know nothing about bunnies. I don't know about you, Jason.
We had a bunny when I was a child. It died. I mean,
well,
obviously,
they don't live that long.
Right. Obviously, it's not still running around our yard.
Did you enjoy the bunny? Just out of curiosity.
I did not enjoy cleaning out the cage. I would not encourage anyone to get a bunny.
See,
I would encourage your daughter to have a friend buy the bunny, and then she can go over and play with the bunny. It's kind of like being an uncle. You don't have to you don't have to bathe the children or feed them or put them to bed. You just get to hang out with them and do cool things. My brother will text us and be like, "Hey, does your youngest want to go to a Lions game?" Yes.
Wow.
But you know what? He's like, I don't have to deal with the sugar rush afterward.
That's the thing. Well, it's like, it's better to know someone with a boat than to own the boat.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So anyway, she's probably gonna get a bunny because she wants a bunny. Like, she already has a friend with a bunny, and that's why she wants a bunny. So, like, the bunny's probably happening. That ship has sailed. I know nothing about bunny breeds. I could not have told you a bunny breed 2 days ago.
Bunny breed.
And so she said last night, "Can we do some research on bunnies?" I said, "Sure." And so I handed her my phone with Claude open. And I didn't really give her any instructions. I was like, all right, go ahead and ask some questions. First of all, I always think it's interesting. Step one, she just started talking to it. She didn't try typing to it. And she has an iPad. Like, she types plenty, but she was like, she's just going to talk to this thing. So she tapped the voice mode and she just started talking to it. And she just asked it a bunch of questions. She asked it for pictures. She asked it, like, the breeds and, like, friendliness and all this kind of stuff. And she was just talking to Claude about the bunnies. Now, if I would have handed her the Gemini app, she would have just used that, or the ChatGPT app, she would have just used that. But I do think there is a, like, whatever your preference is, like, these all do fairly well. And so Google it maybe is trying to differentiate, leveraging all the data it has about you, playing that into personal intelligence, saying, we'll even build you an interactive visual. I think they're having to compete because I think it is we're still in a competitive market. Like, they haven't won just yet. I mean, they've won for many years. Google search has been the default for many years, and this has been the first few year span where they've been challenged in this department, where people are not always going to Google to search bunny breeds. But yeah, I think they're trying to get back into it. Anyway. Sure.
Yeah.
What are you gonna say?
Well, Google doesn't care because it doesn't like that particular set of. Sure, you could do that on Google. Like, it would just give you an AI overview. But you weren't going to Google to buy a bunny.
Yeah, sure. But they sure could have shown you ads for whatever person is getting the bunny breed keyword.
The bunny breed buyer.
You know what I mean? And that is the thing. Like, that is still the core of Google's business is the ads business. And
right.
They still need to be able to show you the ads. And so they need you there. They need you on the Google search because that's what people pay for. And yeah, I don't know what that means for, like, Antigravity building you a visualization of a bunny and whether or not
I think that's not necessary. But what it would do is, like, build you spin up an app in real time in your search that then monitors the local bunny farm, has a countdown on their website telling you when the next breed is going to be born, and Google will just check that every day, and then it will send you a notification when the bunnies are ready to be bought.
Gemini Spark. Build a rabbit agent. No, not rabbit agent. I said rabbit agent.
Rabbit. You're going to get the scariest bunny that you could possibly. Why is my bunny have rabies?
Exactly. So red eyes. These red eyes. All right. There's so much more. Google Cart is coming in. Jason has thoughts on that. Plus, we still have, believe it or not, more Google stuff to get to. Flow and the audio glasses. But before we do, we're going to thank our friends. We have a few friends today. I want to thank those at Copilot Money. Copilot Money is a beautiful app for managing your money wherever you are, whatever device you have. You want to do it on the iPhone app, the iPad app, on the Mac, even on the web. Copilot Money is the way to go. Beautifully designed money tracking app that helps your finances feel clear, calm, and fully under control. It brings all your spending, net worth, savings goals, budgets, and investments into one intuitive dashboard, and it automatically categorizes your spending. So you don't have to go in there and tag every single transaction. No more manual spreadsheets. You could just have Copilot Money do it all for you. You can also track subscriptions, like your Primary Tech subscription for $250 a month or $25 a year. And when you want to cancel, not Primary Tech, but if you want to cancel Netflix or one of the ones that are now $50 a month, Copilot Money can help you do that. Identify all those subscriptions. You can set flexible savings goals with clear progress tracking, and it's available, again, on all the platforms. Easy setup, privacy first. Your data is never sold. There's no ads or upsells, and it's the only personal finance app to win an Apple Editor's Choice Award, and it is, again, beautifully designed. It's a Design Awards finalist, actually, and 4.8 star rating in the App Store with 28,000 plus reviews. So here's what you do. You get 2 months for free when you go to copilot.money/primary and use that promo code primary, and you get 2 months for free. Try Copilot Money. Keep your money organized, safe, and secure. Copilot.money/primary. Our thanks to Copilot Money for sponsoring the show and our friends at Shopify. So while Copilot Money is handling all your money, that's going to be able to track the money coming in from your Shopify store. Listen, I have built many websites on many different platforms, and Shopify is the best. It makes it so easy to spin up your business. If you want to sell things online, physical goods, digital goods, if your entire business is online, you're doing e-commerce, Shopify is the way to go. It is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. Household brands use Shopify like Death Wish Coffee. I've actually had their beans. They're really good. Magic Spoon Cereal, Heinz, and a ton more. And so you can get the word out like you have a marketing team as well. You can easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. So they're going to help you with all of that. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. And we just talked about international shipping earlier on this show. I try to send pins all around the world, and shipping can be a hassle. Let me tell you, let Shopify handle it all for you. And if you get stuck, Shopify is always around to share advice with their award-winning 24/7 customer support. So it's time to turn those what-ifs into cash with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/primary. That's shopify.com/primary, and turn those what-ifs into cash. Shopify.com/primary. Our thanks to Shopify for sponsoring this episode. And as you run your business with Shopify, you also need to protect your business. And that's where NordLayer comes in. NordLayer, again, I just love this. Every time I hit this landing page, it's awesome. They have our little podcast artwork there, our title, the deal. It's awesome. NordLayer is a network security platform for modern teams across different work environments. It enables secure access to company systems with centralized control over users, devices, and network activity. I've been in the position to have to manage IT at companies and using different platforms to try and keep everybody safe and secure. And employees and users, they're always going to find the cracks in the system. Well, don't allow for that. Use NordLayer. Keep it all secure. Every connection is encrypted. There's high-speed performance up to 1 gigabit per second, dedicated secure gateways for traffic routing, and site-to-site connectivity between offices and cloud environments. I was in environments like that too, trying to do VPNs so it looks like everyone's on the same network. NordLayer can handle that for you. Users are verified with single sign-on plus MFA. Unhealthy or non-compliant devices are blocked. Security incidents contained per network segment, cloud firewall enforcement, and a ton more. And it also blocks malicious sites, risky downloads, so those phishing emails that someone might fall for and maybe they clicked something that downloaded. NordLayer can protect you from that. Dangerous domains, and it can even detect shadow apps and unauthorized tools, including AI. And then for compliance, it can access logs, activity monitoring, and a ton more. So here's what you do. You go you get 22% off NordLayer yearly plans plus 10% off on top with coupon code PrimaryTechnology10. Try it risk-free, 14-day money-back guarantee when you use PrimaryTechnology10 with that coupon code. NordLayer.com/PrimaryTechnology. The link is in the show notes. PrimaryTechnology10. Our thanks to NordLayer for sponsoring this episode. All right, more Google stuff. Google Cart. You had some thoughts on Google Cart. Google said Universal Cart is like your cart everywhere. Whatever you want to buy, if it's on YouTube, if it's in Gmail, it's all the things. Cart.
This isn't well. There are three different pieces to this. One is a protocol. They had to get everybody on board with a protocol.
That's fun.
So so I do want to say one thing about that. What this means is this is distinct from, I think, the demo you showed where like your phone is actually tapping around on the Starbucks app on its own. That's not this. And in some ways what Google is saying, I'm sorry, that's too hard. Right? So this universal commerce protocol, whatever they called it, is essentially like it's basically just an API between Target and Walmart and Google and all these places so that they can communicate. And I think Google said they have like 60 billion items, and it's basically a big MySQL database with a bunch of stuff in it that they can just like, oh, you click, you want this? Okay. So there's that piece of it. Then there's this payment processing piece of the whole thing, which is kind of insane. This agent payments protocol, which is this multi-layered thing that is too confusing to really get into, but basically think about what would be required to unleash agents with your credit card on the internet.
What could go wrong?
Just think about right? And Google explains it in a way that I'm sure is right, but it's basically like, you have to have the user tell the agent what they want, and the agent has to find it and put it into a cart, and then the merchant has to be like, yep, I agree, I signed this. And the reason that this all matters is like, what happens if toilet paper shows up at your house and you're like, I didn't want this.
Why is there a canoe in my front yard?
I did not. Just because one time on Instagram I liked a photo of people canoeing did not mean buy it for me, right?
Wait a minute. Yeah.
So what goes wrong? Who's responsible for that, right? Like when that happens, so they had to build all of this stuff, and then the conclusion of that is this thing called Universal Cart, which basically means if you're on Google, if you're in Gemini, if you're on YouTube, or if you're in Mail, you can literally just start adding things to a cart that Google holds. And then you can look at the cart and be like, yep, I want to buy this. And it'll just go out and be like, oh, this only has 4 items left and it's on sale, so let me put a coupon code in there for you. Yeah. And you can either finish the transaction in Google's Universal Cart, or you can go to the merchant.
Right. And
go ahead.
And it'll also proactively be like, oh, your Amex, if you buy it with your Amex, you get 3% off or whatever.
Yes.
So,
Well, that was the most interesting thing. It's like, yes, if you use this card that we know is in your wallet, you'll get this many points. I'm like, oh, I get why Google's doing this.
Yeah.
There's no company on earth more willing to pay money for this sort of thing than American Express. Like literally, when I worked at a previous publication, and that publication wrote about credit cards, the reason they did is an affiliate link from a credit card was like $700.
Yeah, something crazy.
That they would pay. It's like, oh, now I know why the Amex Platinum card has a $800.
That's why all your travel influencers, they hawk credit cards.
Yeah, they get paid.
Yeah.
Big time paid. Anyway.
If you buy a MagSafe charger from me, my Amazon affiliate revenue is like 1 cent.
Yeah.
So that's,
The reason Steven has to push them so much is he needs 1 billion people to buy them. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I love MagSafe. Look at all these MagSafe batteries. Can I tell you, my son had a birthday party the other day, and he's turned 17, and so like all his friends are like teenagers, and most of them had iPhones. Did I already tell you the story?
Yeah, you did last week, but it's fine. You can say it again.
No, that's fine.
You gave away MagSafe.
I realized I did. Yeah, as I started to tell stories, I was like, oh shoot, I already said this. Never mind. You can listen to last week's episode. I want to hear that story.
It's good promotion there. Yeah, anyway.
Wait, so you were saying the Universal Card?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay. Very good.
No, yeah, but the point is, if you're in Gmail and you see a thing, you can just be like, add this to my cart. Or you're on YouTube and Steven is talking about a MagSafe battery pack, and you just add this to my cart. The problem is, think about this, you're not getting your Amazon affiliate when that happens.
That is true. Yeah, unless they go, well, and they didn't show Amazon in those demos. So
Amazon is a partner with the first of the things that I talked about, which is the protocol. The Universal Commerce Protocol. Walmart, Amazon, Target, Shopify, all these people are a part of that. But that just basically means like we'll all share information about this sort of thing.
They'll probably share their items so they show up in search, but then to check out, I imagine you have to go to Amazon for that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but the point, I think the whole reason Google's doing this is right now, Google is the default place that some number of people go when they're looking to buy things, right? That's why shopping is such a huge thing. And it's the simplest thing to monetize because it's like a transaction. And for the rest of humanity, Amazon, you just go to Amazon when you're looking for something, right? Yeah. And Google's like, well, we need to capture all of this. And we just want to be the default place. And we actually don't even want you to go to Target.com. We just want you to come here, put the Ulta stuff in your universal cart, and we'll deal with the rest of it.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I don't use Google Pay or really shop or anything.
Yeah, you do have to be using Google Wallet.
Yeah, you have to use Google Wallet.
I don't use Google Wallet.
No, I don't use that. All right, we try to jam through this, but there was more generative stuff like Google Pics. Again, it's AI altering images, doing stuff, which looked kind of cool, honestly, like resizing subjects within a photo and then overlaying text. Like all those flyers that people put, like that make for schools or like small groups, like maybe they'll look better now because you could use Google Pics. That's fun. Flow for like more video generation. And they also said something about you can create your own creative apps with AI in Flow. And they basically showed like a marketplace of apps. So it looked like, if you wanted to create your own creative tool for whatever, like you want a specific tool to make book covers, you can vibe code, but without the coding, like vibe prompt, I want a tool that does this, and then you could just do it. And then there'll be a marketplace of the tools that everybody's built. Kind of interesting. That seems kind of wild also. Like, I don't know. I guess it'd be like custom GPTs almost, where there's like a marketplace of, hyper specialized GPTs. But anyway, there's that. Music, you just generate everything. Generate all the things.
You just described a bunch of things that also sound a lot like a bunch of other things that Google has, like Google Pics and Google Photos. And then there's like a video thing that's not VO, but there's still VO. Like
there's still VO.
But there's also this Flow app thing, but also couldn't you have Antigravity do like I don't understand, Stephen.
It's all the things are all the things. All right, well and at the end of the keynote, I did want to get to this, was they announced audio glasses. And so last year, Google I/O, which you were there for, there was which we didn't really say. You didn't make it out to Google I/O.
I didn't go because I'm going to Montreal.
Right. So, I feel like maybe that was a better choice.
The actual real reason I didn't go is we have a kid graduating in about a week and a half's time. And so the number of things we're actually recording this podcast a day early because tomorrow morning I have a thing to do. And I had to change a flight to go to Montreal to a different day because our daughter did her homework for the last 13 years. And so we have to go to a little ceremony.
Wow. Yeah, that's it. Well, congratulations to her.
She's graduating with honors. So there we go.
There you go. That's awesome. So Google, the audio glasses. Last year you got to try the Google glasses where there was a display in the lens.
Yes.
And now Google is like, no, this is all audio. So audio glasses will have Gemini built in, and it can just talk to you all day battery life. It still has a camera so you can like take pictures, but it won't show you anything on a display. And I thought, wow, this would be great if AirPods and an iPhone can do this because it's exactly the same thing. And if AirPods have the camera, like we're rumored last week, just talk to Apple Intelligence to do this kind of stuff. It also they had first of all, Warby Parker, Gentle Monster, they're making very nice looking glasses, or at least they say it's nice looking. They look fine. I wear Warby Parker. But they even said you can get directions. And I'm like, what's really helpful when you get directions is seeing where to go.
Yeah.
And so yes, the audio telling you to turn left or turn right is fine, but I feel like you're going to want to see an arrow on a screen or pointing in a direction. So I feel like audio only glasses, I don't know. And then at the end of the demo, they were like, we're going to take a photo and I'm going to have Gemini put a blimp in the background and make the whole photo cartoon imagery. And I was like, well, why are you even taking the picture? Why don't you just prompt it to make AI generate a photo of a crowd with a blimp over it? If you're going to, and then that was the other thing of it feels very much like Google's just trying to get you to AI, all the things, even a real photo that you're taking with physical glasses of real people. You know what? Let's AI that too. Let's just put a blimp in the background for no reason. So I don't know.
I feel like the movie clip today should have been like Robin Williams arguing with the GPS in the movie RV, where it just keeps like telling it, turn left, turn left. Do you really, you know what I do the first time I get into a car and I hook up I turn off the audio part of the navigation. I just want to see it on the screen. I do not ever want it talking to me.
I don't have mine talk to me either.
And this is literally, what if you couldn't see anything and we just shout at you, turn left, turn left. I don't want that. I don't want it, Steven. It's bad.
Now, they closed the keynote with those wild quotes, which I already stated. I do want to say one thing that I would love to see Apple be able to do something like this with Apple Intelligence, which I just don't know if it will ever happen. But they talked about how WeatherNext, which is one of their like AI models, was used to help better hurricane tracking and forecasting. And there was a massive hurricane that hit Jamaica last year, and Google's WeatherNext was part of the tools that was used for like early warning. And I think even like the governor or the mayor in Jamaica talked about how it helped them be able to, share warnings earlier, which literally saved lives. And that's the thing is like, because one, they should have like opened the keynote with this kind of stuff. Like tell the stories of like why AI is like can be useful right now. And like the fact that you saved lives because of hurricane prediction models using your AI, like that's cool. Like that's unequivocally impressive. And like that's the kind of like Apple Watch stories you hear at the beginning of Apple keynotes. Like do that at the front, frame it like that. Because when I saw that part of the keynote, I was like, man, Google gets to say our technology is being used outside our walls by weather forecasters and it is making a difference in the real world. And I thought back to Apple and like, I'm excited to get to go to WWDC. All the rumors are that Apple Intelligence is going to be, big announcements there. Siri is going to get better. The one thing Apple is not going to be able to say is that like our AI technology will be used to do X, Y, or Z out in the world because they just don't have it. And they're so much so that they are literally using Google's AI to power Apple Intelligence. And we're going to probably see that at WWDC. And like I understand that's just not where they're at. Like they're making the devices that all people are using the AI on. Like they're making all the Mac Minis and all the laptops that people are using it. And there's literally an iPhone 17 Pro in the Google keynote using Google Spark. And like Apple is making the hardware that all of this stuff is running on. But it would also be nice if Apple could say like we're making a tool for the outside world to use because our software or our compute is so good that we are making that difference. And so it's maybe they don't need to do that, but that was a moment in the Google keynote where I was like, wow, that's cool. That's a cool thing. And when we get to the accessibility features, I actually had a lot of people on social media were like, this is what AI should be used for. Like, let it help someone who's visually impaired tell what's in front of them and let AI be able to talk to them about it. Like, those are cool use cases. And Apple is doing that, to be clear. We're going to talk about that in a second. But it was kind of cool to hear Google and the weather thing.
Yeah, weather. This was their Apple Watch, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's like their Apple Watch story. Whether or not it will cure all disease, probably not.
TBD.
TBD. All right, you had a great article, last Google thing, before we go to iOS 27. We talked about the Googlebook last week, but I'll also link to your Inc. article. Usually, listen, this seems like a shorter headline for you, but I do think it's great. The Googlebook doesn't make any sense.
I don't understand. I spent a lot of time thinking about this, Stephen, and I don't understand. I don't understand the Googlebook. And the same thing is true with Spark is basically like Copilot, right? Like, I don't understand. I just can't figure out what they're... except when you think about the fact that they are not making them. They are trying to get other people to make nicer Chromebooks, and they realized that if anyone was going to take them seriously, they needed a new name and put a glowy thing on them. And then they have a Googlebook. It's a terrible name, but...
It's a bad name. I could definitely see them marketing like, you can run your Gemini Spark agent on your Googlebook, tell it to do something, and just close your laptop. But they also just said in this keynote, you could do that with your current laptop.
But can you just imagine, like, hey, Acer, Lenovo, could you make a notebook and would you put our name on it too? Like, at least when it was a Chromebook, it just is like, oh, it's Chrome. Yeah, obviously every Lenovo laptop runs Chrome. But now it's like, hey, what if we called it a Googlebook and you made it? It's like, okay, well, I don't know. I just don't understand.
Sure. All right. So iOS 27, Apple has done this the last few years, and they announced the accessibility features coming with the next software early. So they actually unveiled the actual features, accessibility features coming with iOS 27. And they said a lot of them are using Apple Intelligence. And they have a really cool video. I shared it on social media. Basically voiceover, which can help someone who's visually impaired see what's in front of them. And like, this is great uses of AI. Like, you can point your iPhone, use the action button or program something else and say, what is this document I'm looking at? So this person got something in the mail, it's a bill, and Apple Intelligence can like interpret it for them. They have like 2 shirts on the bed and they want to choose the right one. They say, which is the plain one? Which is the plain white one? And your iPhone can tell you it's the one on the left, it's the one on the right. Or where's my keys? So like, that's really cool. This seems like, yeah, great use of AI. Like, let it be able to talk to people, explain what's going on. There's even the natural language input was interesting. And there was some posts on social media of like, is this an agent on the iPhone? And basically what it is voice control, which voice controls exist for a long time. You can talk to your Mac, you can talk to your iPhone. But that the voice control in iOS 27 using Apple Intelligence, you can tell your iPhone, tap on the orange folder or tap on the beach Keynote. And it will literally take action on the screen for you without you touching the screen and just using voice control to control your phone. And Apple Intelligence taking that even further, navigating apps and experiences. And a lot of people are like, is that an agent? It's like, well, technically, I mean, yeah, if your phone can use itself with your voice prompting, it seems like it. But this is also very different from even the Gemini task automation that I talked about earlier, where I could tell it, like, order me a caramel macchiato upside down. That's a lot of clicks and a lot of steps it's going to go through in the background. And this is seemingly more like single command, like open this, go to this. But we'll see. Maybe that's a clue of what's coming with iOS 27.
Yeah, and I would argue an agent is simply a string of technologies, and this is one of those technologies that would also be found in an agent. But in this case, it's an accessibility feature because it's the human who is directing it. It's not, and it is directing actual steps as opposed to directing the outcome.
That's a good distinction. They're also bringing captions to all basically videos taken on your iPhone or sent to your iPhone. So if you record a video or if a friend texts you a video, there can be captions on there automatically. So that's a great new feature, iOS 27. And an amazing demo, Apple Vision Pro is going to work with power wheelchair control. So someone can literally use their wheelchair by looking at controls in Vision Pro and be able to like move to the left, move forward, move to the right, and like omnidirectional control. This is really cool. I will say, I've used my Vision Pro a few times in the last week, and sometimes the eye tracking is not super precise. So I'm like, this has to be spot on because you can't have a motorized wheelchair like going off a ramp.
Sure.
Or doing whatever. But it is good. We'll see. Maybe Vision OS 27 will like heighten the accuracy even more. Maybe there's like settings for like blink to move or whatever. But I thought that's really cool. Connected to a wheelchair.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's fun. And last rumor about iOS 27, Mark Gurman over at Bloomberg was saying that shortcuts will be able to be made by themselves with Apple Intelligence in iOS 27. So you'll be able to open the Shortcuts app and say, make me a shortcut that does this, and it's just going to do it. And listen, maybe I'm out of a job, Jason. Maybe this is it. This is the end.
I don't think this is the end.
Thank you.
I think that just every video is going to be, tell Siri, stop texting me. Jason, stop texting me about shortcuts that you need. It'll do it for you.
Well, and I did a little short on it, but my thought is, there's actually an app right now called Shortcut Studio. I did a video on it last weekend, and it is literally an app that can build shortcuts for you, which is really cool. And it does a decent job, but I'll put a link to my video, and then Shortcut Studio, it's a free to download. You can build like 3 shortcuts a day for free, and then you have to pay for it. But what I have found is with some simple requests, it nails it. And I imagine Apple Intelligence and Shortcuts, if you ask it something like, give me a report of my events for today and send it to me in a text message, check my calendar events, and go for it. Like the Shortcut Studio app could do that today, and that's using like AIs and LLMs in the background to make the shortcut, and you could download it. I'm sure Apple Intelligence will be able to do that. if I ask Apple Intelligence on iOS 27, hey, make me a shortcut that uses the movie database API so I can search for a movie or TV show, pull the poster image, where to stream it, and put all of that in an Apple Note, I doubt it can do that. And only because I did some of those more complex tasks in my video, and I won't spoil it, but AI is still like not super precise at connecting variables in shortcuts or being able to like, once you get to longer tasks, it kind of loses the plot and sometimes doesn't pull from previous actions properly. So maybe Apple's own Apple Intelligence will do that better, hopefully, because it's actually Apple's on-device LLM doing that. But I think it will be great for simpler shortcuts. I think more complex shortcuts remains to be seen. But listen, I'll be in my hotel room Monday night of WWDC shouting at my phone to build shortcuts all night. And you better believe that's going to be on a video. So maybe I'll do a live stream. Who knows? But we'll see. That should be coming, iOS 27. Sports ball. Do you use the Apple Sports app? I forget.
I will look at it sometimes, especially when I want. The main reason is I'm like, I think there's a game today of something.
Right.
I'll just open it because it's easier than Googling it. It is. It's just like, oh, I know it'll be in there. I'll just open that.
Yeah. So it's now available in more than 90 additional countries, including our listeners in Australia, New Zealand, Japan, India. I sent one to India too. I forgot to give him a shout out. I sent one to India as well. But it's available in 90 more countries. And speaking of sports, there's actually a new Apple Vision Pro documentary about Real Madrid in Apple Vision Pro. The embargo drops today, Wednesday, so I should be good to talk about it. But I did watch it in Apple Vision Pro, and it's one of the things about the immersive video, and I think this could be like the future. Did you listen to the Adam Lissagore talk show with John Gruber?
I didn't get through the whole thing.
It was a really fun episode. A lot about vibe coding. But Adam Lissagore, who's been a guest on this show actually in the past, of Sandwich Video, he talked about, he's very bullish on immersive video and that being like the next frontier in entertainment. And whether that shakes out to be true or not, I do find that the immersive video in Apple Vision Pro, it makes me super invested in whatever it is, even if I didn't have that much interest in it before. Like there's like the 2-episode dog show thing in Apple Vision Pro. I've never watched a dog show. I didn't know any of the terms. I would not care otherwise. But man, watching those 2 episodes, like I was in it. And I was like super invested. And one is the storytelling and the Apple Studios making this content. But also in this Real Madrid documentary, I'm semi-familiar. I know Cristiano Ronaldo. I know, Lionel Messi. Like I know some names. I know about football. But man, watching this documentary, I was like super invested. And the time always flies by when I watch an Apple immersive video. And I talked about 2 of them last week, the New York and the Switzerland one. And so it's really good. So if you have an Apple Vision Pro, I would encourage you to watch the Real Madrid one. And I hope there is more immersive content. And Adam Lissagore on the talk show says like there's basically like a few people out there, like literally a handful, making immersive content that has the Blackmagic immersive camera and trying to do it. There's not a great way to distribute it. That's one of the reasons why he made the app called Theater on Vision Pro, so you can watch some of that third-party immersive content. But yeah, it's still fun. Strap it on and watch something.
Yeah, the New York was part of the Elevate series.
Thank you, Elevate.
So it's fun, and I hated it.
What?
With a passion, Steve.
Wait, whoa. Why did you hate it?
This is not what people want, but this is what Apple thinks people want. What people want is to put on the Vision Pro and feel like they're in New York City. And be able to determine. I don't want to watch a movie flying over New York City and walking through some streets and then cutting to something else and then going to this and then you go to the guy who's like on the bike and then you go to this other place and then you I don't want that, Steven. What I want is to be like, pick a location. I want Street View, but immersive, and I can just like choose like 12 different spots around the it's kind of like the NBA games. People don't want you to cut them. They just want to sit in a seat and experience what's happening. And with the New York City, let me stand in Times Square. Let me move forward or backward. That's what people really want. And that's what immersive means. Immersive doesn't mean, oh, we just made a movie, but we just did it with these different cameras and we still control all the stuff. Because I'm like, oh, that was cool. And then I have to back up and be like, oh, I'm walking. It didn't feel like New York City to me because of that. And I've been to New York City. I know you're from New York. I've been to New York City probably 50 times because of like for work.
Yeah.
I've been there a whole lot of times, probably more than most people who don't live there. Like, right? I'm very familiar with New York City, and I love New York City. It's one of my favorite places on earth. If we didn't have children, maybe we'd live there. I don't know.
Sure.
I did not like it at all.
That's wild. Well, I will just heartily disagree. I mean, it's a subjective thing, but I thought if you had never been to New York, it provide like one with all this immersive content, none of it is long enough. You know, it's all like short. And the New York City one, I think it was like 8 minutes or something. And so like, what do you do in 8 minutes? And, you know, the other elevated series, there's like narration and there's explanation. And I loved that the New York City was just the sights and sounds of the city. And so I totally get like someone might just want to like stand in Times Square for 30 seconds or a minute.
Or walk through Central Park.
And like, that would be a cool like app. You know, like choose your venue, Times Square, Central Park, Soho, Chinatown, and just like stand on a street's corner and then like Google Street View, like tap another street corner, zoom over there, and then feel like you're just standing there. And if it was like live, like that would be awesome. Like that'd be a cool Vision Pro idea. Like let me be in New York City right now as it's happening. And again, Adam Lissagore did live video in immersive for the talk show 2 years ago. So that's probably happening. But we'll have to disagree, Jason. I enjoyed it. I'm sorry I didn't enjoy it, Jason.
I just care more about New York City than you do. That's clearly the answer.
Them fighting words, first of all. Have you even had a Knish?
You just made up those words.
See? Everyone who's listening.
Is a Knish the thing that the AI delivered when you ordered a canoe?
The fact that, okay, see, I can rest my case because everyone listening who loves New York as much as I do, they know what's up. They know what a Knish is. They've bought it from the guy on the side of the street, and they know.
No, the reason I've never had a Knish is I don't like mashed potatoes.
See, I feel so confident right now that people, they're going to listen. Don't leave us a 1-star review for what Jason said. Leave a 5-star review and tell me the corner on New York City where you got your favorite Knish. We'll shout out everyone in the next show.
I've had one from Katz's Deli, which is fine, but I'm just saying... I've eaten a lot of, listen, New York City street food and we go back quite a ways.
We go back.
No, I'm serious. Like there's listen, but you know, anyway. A
Sabret hot dog, dirty water hot dog.
Sure.
I need to start another podcast about New York and just talk to people about New York. I gotta start yet another podcast. Right. You just sent me breaking news, Jason. Breaking news as we record. What just happened? James Murdoch buys half of Vox Media.
Yeah. He bought Fox.com, New York Magazine, and all the podcast network. The Verge will remain independent, so will Eater. I don't know what Eater is, but...
The Verge will remain independent, like they're not part of this deal?
Correct.
Oh, interesting.
So I don't know what that means for those companies, but it's just...
Okay.
We knew that this was rumored,
that
this might happen, but now we know. What the podcast network, Stephen. This was the most interesting. I actually read this while you were talking about something that I don't remember. But
Knishes.
No, it was way before that. This actually broke about 45 minutes ago.
Oh,
but we didn't have time to talk about it in the middle of all the other things that were happening.
Okay,
but the podcast network generated $80 million last year in revenue.
That's not bad for a podcast network.
That's incredibly good for a podcast network.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of podcast networks that would love to make $80 million.
For sure. So. And that's like Waveform, MKBHD's podcast is on the Vox
Vergecast, Pivot, all of those.
But is the Vergecast part of this deal then?
No, so the network is just a collective of shows. Buying up ads. Like
yeah.
But it's not the shows because like MKBHD owns his show.
Right.
They just buy the ads and put them on there. That's
right.
Buying the ads and putting them places is the thing that got bought, not the shows. Like Pivot,
right.
Kara Swisher and Scott Galloway own that show.
Right.
And the Vergecast will stay with the Verge, I assume, but they may still be a part of the network, which will now just be a part of this other company.
Right. Which you could always leave the network, but then it's a lot harder to get ads.
Right. And the CEO Jim Bankoff is going to the new company.
Oh, okay. Interesting. All right. That's interesting. Listen, if anyone wants to buy this podcast for $300 million, we're not selling. Well, no, we probably would for $300 million.
We will definitely sell for $300 million.
$300 million.
I don't own any of this show, but I will.
The people own this show, Jason. The people.
I'm just saying $300 million is slightly above the line.
Slightly. It's just.
I'm not going to tell you where the line is, but I will tell you $300 million is above it.
335? I don't know. Might be under. Also, if you want to own something like a Plex lifetime pass, that's now going to be $750. I just want to throw it out there. Listen, Plex, we're going to talk about this in the bonus episode. I bought a Plex pass when it was $75 lifetime. So I own Plex. But right now,
the whole company, he owns it.
I own it.
Steven is the one raising prices.
That's right. Plex lives on my Synology in a closet. It's $250 lifetime pass right now. It's going up to $750 this summer, and the subscription stays the same, $7 per month, $70 per year. You know, I actually bought a bullhorn to talk about pricing and subscriptions. Did you see that, Jason?
Yeah, because, only because
people, when I did my widget video on iPhone, people got upset because there were a lot of subscriptions, even though all the widgets you could use for free except for the Tide guidance. So I'm now doing a bullhorn in videos whenever I talk about pricing. And so for Plex, it is still $7 a month or $70 per year, going up to $750 lifetime purchase. I'm doing bullhorns.
So the bet is that you're going to live more than 10 years.
I guess. But the reason why I want to bring that up is if you ever think for a moment, and I'm going to try and convince Jason in the bonus episode, that you will want to use Plex in the future, you should just buy the lifetime pass now for $250 before you have to pay triple that amount. That's all I'm saying. So there's that. AI and Gen Z. We talked about it last week at length. Since then, ex-Google CEO Eric Schmidt was booed at a commencement like our UCF example last week because he talked about AI, and so we will include that article. Graduating class is not happy. But we had a great email from listener Andrew. He's Gen Z, graduated in 2024, so a couple of years ago. And he basically said, I'm going to quote from his email. Well, I shouldn't have started with here, but Jason nailed pretty much every point. I didn't want to say that.
I love this email.
I didn't want to say that. But this is now Andrew talking in the email, and he did say that. College students, me included, have anxiety whether we're going to get a job or not, or if AI is going to take everyone's jobs, leaving us broke, homeless, or unable to survive. He says he's a young professional, and he uses AI. He said, like I use it, and my kids use it. He's a substitute for Google sometimes, similar to search engines, everyday questions. But for someone who, he works in the world of sales and customer service, he has no use for AI outside of kind of that general use or whatever. And yeah, it's a little unsettling for someone like him who just graduated a couple years ago. So, Andrew, thank you for that email. 2, if you're Gen Z, if you graduated this year or soon to graduate or recently did, would love to hear from you, too, your feelings about AI. But, yeah, considering they're booing Eric Schmidt on stage at a commencement, and this sentiment, it does seem like the younger generation is not as bullish as AGI is the singularity or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do your kids, your daughter's graduating. I
asked them live on the show, remember?
I know you asked them live on the show. But
and they're basically like, it depends. And I'm like, that's super.
Have they been media trained, Jason?
I know.
Did you give them media training?
That is super Gen Z right there. It just depends.
It depends.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Well, we would love to hear from more. We'll discuss it more at length when there's not 1,000 Google things to talk about. But keep writing in, Andrew. Thank you for that email. And the last piece of news before we get to personal tech, we have to mention the case between Elon Musk and Sam Altman. Elon lost.
Yeah.
He lost the case.
We knew this was going to happen. I don't even think Elon Musk thought that he was going to win. No, really. But the best part, there's 2 things that are good about this. There's one thing that's good and one thing that's bad. Okay. The thing that's good is I think that there is a perception that, and there's a reasonable reason for this, that if you just have enough money and enough force of personality, you can just bully your way through anything. Yeah. And this outcome shows that that's not true.
Right.
I don't think it should be the fact that Elon Musk should have lost this is in no way an endorsement of anything Sam Altman has ever done. I just want to be clear.
Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to be clear about that. The bad thing about this is that he lost on essentially a technicality.
Right.
So they did not in court. This is the way courts work. If you lose on it, if you can lose on a technicality, then they don't actually decide on the actual facts or the law, right? So essentially what the jury decided is that Elon Musk waited too long to file this lawsuit based on what he was saying happened. They did not decide whether the thing he said happened or not, right? I wish that they would have, but I understand why they didn't. I wish they would have been like, shove it, you're wrong. But what they said is, we're not going to decide if you were right or wrong. It doesn't matter. It's too late for us to make that. You waited too long.
Statute of limitations seems like an anticlimactic end to a case like this.
Right.
That seemed pretty large. And in the New York Times article, I'll include, the jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. Like 12 angry men deliberated more in their movie than the jury in this. But yeah, the case is over.
You couldn't have even watched 12 Angry Men in the amount of time that they spent deliberating.
Probably that is true. That is true. All right, personal tech. AirPods Pro 3. There have not been third-party tips available for a little while. I've been using the stock tips. They've been better than AirPods Pro 2 for me. They stayed in my ear better. They didn't fall out as much when I was walking around grocery shopping. And so I do think the tips on the Pro 3 are improved over the Pro 2. How's your experience with the Pro 3 tips?
I have never had a problem with any AirPod tips ever.
Never fallen out?
I've had an AirPod fall out once. It happened this week. And it's because we put sod in our grass. We laid some sod down getting ready for an open house. So you have to walk a slightly different path in our backyard to get to the gate to get out. And we have I think it's the scientific name is Florida, but it's like a dogwood tree or whatever. And a flowering dogwood. And I walked too close to it, and one of the branches just pulled my AirPod right out.
Oh, well,
that's literally the only time I've ever had an AirPod fall out.
You never feel it loosen, like if you're like smiling a lot?
No, but I think about it every time I go to the bathroom and still have an AirPod in.
Well, I do become aware. So the Comply tips came out recently, and I've used Comply tips for all of my past AirPods Pro, and those have been great. I got them for the 3. They're still great. They're much more foamy than the stock Pro tips, and the foaminess, as people have reported, can get kind of after a long time. I use mine for about a year, and then I want to get another pair because they get a little nasty. The camera's not going to be able to see it, but
thank goodness.
Right. So those have been good. But a lot of people, and apparently Christopher Lawley mentioned these too, the Chargen, Chargen, which you can't get on Amazon. This you have to buy directly from Chargen. A lot of people said these tips are even better than the Comply tips, and these are kind of they're hybridy, whereas the Comply tips are basically all foam. The Chargen tips, it's got foam, and then it kind of has an outer layer, some new texture or whatever, a silicone shield. So it's supposedly going to both stay in your ear and protect the foam from getting nasty after a while. And it also has a little speaker grill over the thing as opposed to being totally open. The Comply tips are totally open, and these do have a speaker grill. In practice, I've not noticed a huge difference in sound quality because of the speaker grill, which is fine. But comfort, they're very comfortable. I've been wearing them the last few days. How dirty they get over time, I'll have to report back. I do feel like it doesn't provide as tight of a seal as the Comply. Like the Comply tips, when they expand in my ear, they're like rock solid. And these are good. They're solid. They've not fallen out. I need to go grocery shopping with them. That's my true test. That's always how I test my my headphones. And we'll test the noise canceling and all of that. They're very comfortable, though. They're more secure than the stock tips I have found. And, that extra layer might help them stay cleaner. They do take a second more to expand. The Comply foam tips, when you, squeeze them, they pretty much expand instantly. You don't really have to, wait for them to fill your ear. Let me just try it real quick. No, they take a while to expand. If you squeeze it hard enough, those squish down and expand. The Chargen, it's about the same. It'll expand for a few seconds. So you do kind of have to hold it in your ear for a second if you want it to expand in place rather than just kind of, and you can just try to shove them in there, but I like to squeeze them a little bit before I put them in. But anyway, they sound good. They feel good. They're comfortable. I'll report back once I've tested them for more than a couple days. But they're a great alternative. They are a little bit pricey. They're like $40. You do get 3 pairs in the box. But the Chargen Airfoams Pro, they've been pretty good, and so I'll report back with a more thorough review. But I do like them. I'll be trying them.
Nice. I'm not going to try them, but I'm glad you're happy.
Listen, everybody's ears are different, Jason. Everybody's ears are different. Sometimes you need the extra tips. So, all right, I'm going to go try and convince Jason to buy Plex. And so If you want to hear our bonus episode where I do that, you can support the show. Thank you to all of you who already support the show. You can click the link down in the show notes. I'm just going to keep the deal going. You can support the show for $2.50 a month or $25 a year with the deal at that link in the show notes. We would appreciate your support there. Thanks for everyone who supports it. You get Primary Tech Daily. You get our bonus episodes, ad-free version, our pre-show, which is longer and longer every week. You get like 2+ hour shows if you listen to the whole unedited feed. Spoiler, which is still edited and has chapters and all of that, but I call it the unedited. And support a 5-star rating and review in Apple Podcasts. Let me know the favorite street corner you've had at Kanish. Would love to hear from you. You can subscribe on YouTube, watch us there, or watch on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.